Once in a while there comes a mod that changes everything, and this day is such a day. Listen, I've been playing Medieval 2 for 14 years, and in all that time, my campaigns have been relegated to something between the medieval period and the Lord of the Rings universe, never really finding that any other historical time period managed to fit into the feel and vibe of Medieval 2. There are many reasons for this, partially visual and mechanical, but today, all that changes. In this video, you and I are going to dive into the absolutely massive and all-encompassing Total War conversion mod, Lucium Total War, which somehow, through some blessed magic, manages to convert the good old Middle Ages into the exact same time period as Empire Total War. Only this time, you'll actually feel the history and turmoil of this time period, and even change history through meaningful and tangible ways. And if that sounds as good to you as it does to me, I really hope you'll consider becoming a channel member, which makes it possible for me to focus my attention on awesome projects just like this one. And now, the massive update and review of Lucium Total War 3.0. If you're anything like me, you might be asking yourself something like, wait, since there already is a dedicated Empire Total War with even better graphics than Medieval 2, why shouldn't I just go and play that? And to that I say, fair question, sweet lass. But let me ask you this, what exactly from Empire Total War are you missing? Because when I think of Empire, I think of tiny landmasses, cities with little degree of customization, a huge lack of missions and events, boring music, lame siege battles, a general absence of historical flavor and occurrences, and, dare I say it, one province, France. Enter Lucium Total War, a relatively new mod in terms of Medieval 2 standards, but one which quickly rose to become one of my favorite Total War mods of all time. It comes down to three things: the sheer oozing of passion and detail, absolutely and insanely awesome campaign mechanics, which change up every campaign but retains historical faithfulness, and an entire renovation of the battle maps which now has taken the long step into a new age of gunpowder and line warfare. You'll see it just as easily as I did. Contrary to the one in Empire, Lucium's campaign map is absolutely massive. It stretches all the way from Ireland and Portugal in the west, to Persia and Afghanistan in the east, to Arabia in the south, all the way to Norway in the north, in what's likely one of the largest campaign maps you've ever seen. But what really strikes me about this map is how it looks. Take a look at Britain. It's large, filled with cities, and those coastlines are just to die for. Check out France's agricultural landscape, and the forests that turn into mountains in the Alps, or in the south, where Spain's landscape is so deliciously warm and Mediterranean looking. Or what about Italy, Palestine, or indeed Norway? Even the water has been updated with new textures, making it look a bit darker and deeper than normal. This map is just beautiful to look at, and I especially love seeing it all covered by trade ships and traveling merchants on the roads. Seeing as this is a completely different time period, we obviously get to play as a host of different factions than before. Although, this is Europe after all, so the usual suspects will be lining up. But although Britain, France, Spain, Austria, and Venice continue to make appearances, we have more than a handful of newcomers here as well. Some of these are the Ottomans, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Prussia, and Persia, all offering various challenges and opportunities. This ties into perhaps the most important and game-changing aspect of Lucium Total War, namely the all-encompassing new events and decisions. As you might know already, the 1700s is a time of great turmoil in both Europe and the Ottoman Empire. The Spanish are not only facing a succession crisis when the inbred king leaves the throne with no heir, a massively corrupt aristocracy, and boiling rebellions in the Spanish dominions in Italy. In Austria, a war against the Ottoman Empire rages at the border before the murmuring of a Hungarian independence movement takes root, ending in the massive uprising of thousands of rebels. In Britain, the monarchy attempts to keep control of the crown lands in the Netherlands, while at the same time dealing with Irish and Scottish disobedience. And in the Ottoman Empire, a double war with Austria and Venice keeps the armies busy in the west, while a stagnating economy threatens the stability of the uneasy overlordship of Egypt, the Barbary states, and Wallachia. But one must not forget about possible Greek separatists or Persian ambitions in the east. This is an age of empires, and as you can tell, each one of them, including the ones I haven't mentioned, must deal with challenges both internal and external, some more pressing and deadly than others. What I haven't told you is that each of these events can be influenced and even changed by none other than yourself. While you will hear of these events taking place outside your borders, you will actually be able to react to whichever ones occur within your realm. This means that you can indeed save the Spanish Empire from completely collapsing if you manage in record time to gather the necessary coin to fund your defenses, sabotage the Hungarian independence, or even take advantage of the turmoil of others. As Britain, if Spain loses Gibraltar, you can indeed take control of the rock itself in a historical move I just love is included. As France, influencing the rise of the Hungarian independence movement to stick it to the Austrians, or even fund a Catholic uprising in Bavaria, is open to you. The same goes for Britain, where funding a certain French Revolution is very possible. Every one of these events and decisions make for an atmosphere that completely removes any notion that this is just another medieval campaign you're playing. And indeed, this mod somehow manages to take me all the way from 1080 to 1700, and that is a massive achievement. The relatively constant notifications about world events that actually affect the game has a huge impact on this, but another one is everything that goes on in your cities. Every building and icon has been changed to time-appropriate ones, and even though they might be a bit hard to understand at a glance in the beginning, you'll soon be laying down roads and erecting ports and cities like never before. But more importantly are the ever-present cultural buildings, which determine what kind of people are native to the city, which in turn gives that culture a boost to ownership, but a small penalty to everyone else. The British benefit greatly to trade. France's culture bonus is more military in nature, while Austria's focus on improving society. These arguably cater to historical strengths, and just like in history, owning a core you shouldn't probably leads to problems, as you might find being English owning Dublin. In addition, we have mechanics here that may end as the game goes on, like the Holy Roman Empire system. Here we have a system of imperial power and member states, and there are benefits to both here. Austria as emperor receives gold now and then, while the member states can be bailed out if their coffers are empty. However, as Austria notices, keeping the imperial capital of Magdeburg independent is a necessity to keep the empire itself alive, while Prussia's ambitions of founding a German empire is predicated on the fall of said capital. Systems like these create an absolutely fantastically dynamic campaign that can and will change every time you play, as both you and the other factions are likely to make different decisions every time. While I couldn't afford to fund the Hungarian independence movement against Austria because I was low on cash as the Ottomans, in my campaign as Austria, both the Ottomans and the French decided to give me the proverbial finger. As France, I managed to keep prosperity going and become the richest and most advanced faction, but as Britain, I funded revolutionary sentiments, saw the once proud Kingdom of France fall to the Republicans, and was even attacked myself. This is of course the danger of funding foreign descent, especially when it spawns multiple stacks of highly motivated revolutionaries. Campaign-wise then, I've absolutely loved my time with Lucium no matter who I've played as, because the mod manages to make every faction feel so unique and dynamic. I think part of the reason for this is that the team at Lucium has really understood what makes this time so fun. Here we have large empires all around, but in an age of changing systems and sentiment. Even the largest empire is not safe. It's almost as if Lucium offers not one, not two, but 3 Western Roman Empire type campaigns of massive challenges despite being the largest factions. And that is something I really love. But even the not so massive factions are fun to play as, because you're never safe from the wrath of the likes of France. As Britain, I loved having to fight tooth and nail to keep naval superiority across the channel, while also keeping Amsterdam in the lowlands. I erected forts to make advancing as hard as possible for the French, and could sail new units back and forth to recover my strength. For the first 60 turns, this was one of my most engrossing campaigns I've played in a very long time, because I really had to earn my survival and prosperity. But once I managed to beat the French away, I suddenly felt a bit overpowered. I was fighting France, Cologne, and Denmark-Norway at once, and won, amassing enormous wealth in the process. I think part of the reason for this is that upkeep for certain elite units is too low, which allowed me to win battles against overwhelming odds and keep producing them. I personally think some upkeep balancing could be beneficial here for elite units like the Grenadiers, and perhaps for navies. There is an option in the beginning of the game to play with a so-called harder economy, and even though it makes quite a difference in the beginning stages, and especially for factions like Spain, Austria, and the Ottomans, harder economy doesn't really feel like it's doing too much once you've left those difficult beginnings. But when I least expected it, a few dozen turns later, an endgame level challenge arose with the French Revolution, and so when I really thought I had the upper hand forever, Lucium really did say, "Oh no you don't." And now, my dear viewer, if you're thinking, "Damn, this looks awesome," I'm about to toss you a curveball. You see, Lucium comes with an extra campaign, The Bolivar campaign, which takes place in South America during a time of decline of the Spanish Empire and rise of the South American nations. While it currently doesn't feel as polished as a European campaign, the depth here and change of scenery and time is astonishing, allowing us to deal with the choice and consequences of slavery, the collapse of the Spanish stock exchange, and the rise of Brazil, Mexico, and the reunion of colonial European powers abroad, represented by one province each for Britain, France, and the Dutch. If you want something else then, the South American campaign in the 1800s might be for you. I've talked a lot about campaigns and how truly spectacular the Lucium campaign is, and I must say the new music and the visuals do create a vibe and an atmosphere I've rarely seen in a Total War mod. But just as integral to the experience are the battles, and this might be where you're the most skeptical. Surely the Empire or Napoleon battles are better than anything medieval can conjure, you may yell into the void. Well, I'm actually going to tell you to reserve judgment on that one. And the reason for that is that Lucium Total War manages to create time-appropriate battles that feel so good to play. Remember, the base here is medieval and everything that comes with it. Sure, lining up units might be hard and a bit clunky sometimes, but other than that, everything comes off as organic and realistic. The volley of a line infantry is satisfying to both watch and listen to, and they even have fire by rank here, at least the first two ones.
enemy have breached our gates!
Despite being medieval too, everything looks surprisingly good, and I think it's owed to Lucium's beautifully modeled and varied units and factions. This is of course the era of the end of Pike and Shot, and while it takes place in the same era as Empire, I never really felt the need in Empire to ever use Pike that much. But here, because Lucium actually let us make use of medieval two's cities and castles, Pikes are more effective than ever, and can together with well-placed cavalry change the course of battles. By using my pikemen to the fullest, I was able to successfully defend my Austrian cities against the Hungarian invaders and repel them. We mustn't forget about the cannons, of course, which arguably sound and look just as satisfying as they do in Empire, if not more to be honest. Despite perhaps seeming on the surface to be more one-dimensional than the battles of vanilla Medieval 2, the power of the cannons managed to make every city battle unique and fast-paced, as the city walls are no longer the defensive golden ace they used to be. The fact that both the player and the enemy can place down forts changes both the campaign map and the battle map, making the campaign map show signs of war and conflict, and makes you fight for every inch of territory on the battle map. In my opinion, nearly the only thing Empire has on Lucium are the naval battles, which of course are not in Medieval 2 at all. That is a bummer, but honestly, I never felt like it ruined or hampered my experience. Navies are more important than ever since there's so much sea and so many ports to cover and defend. But the mod somehow manages to make ships feel important despite not having dedicated battlefields for them, and I think that's a great achievement indeed. Would that Medieval 2 offered online multiplayer campaigns? Because if it did, Lucium Total War would be my go-to campaign now. It's absolutely massive, filled to the brim with historical flavor, choices that will shake up any campaign for both you and your rival factions, large empires both in decline and up and coming, and amazing battles that feel as though they were made for the game to begin with. Lucium Total War isn't even one of those golden age mods from back in the day, but a fairly new iteration made possible only through the passion and hard work of the dedicated team members who I so very much thank for this amazing Total War experience. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, just in case you missed it, my friend. Other than Third Age Total War, I never liked seeing Medieval 2 mods attempting time periods earlier or later. It just never felt right to me. But Lucium, through everything from campaign visuals to battle sounds, makes Medieval 2 feel like it was always meant for an Imperial campaign in the 18th century. And that, if nothing else, is an achievement worthy of praise. I highly recommend checking out Lucium Total War as soon as you can if you're remotely interested in seeing what's possible in the Medieval 2 engine, as this is one of those mods that truly deserve to be in the Medieval 2 Mods Hall of Fame. Thank you so much for watching. If it's not clear yet, I love this mod instantly, and think it really showcases that Total War can be as interesting and dynamic as Paradox games, as long as that classic feeling of Total War and nation building is merged with exciting and impactful events, decisions, and historical flavor. Let me know what you think about Lucium Total War, and if you enjoyed the video and what I do, it would mean a lot if you left a like and consider becoming a channel member. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button for notifications on upcoming videos, and join us on Discord. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.